Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Hear Our Story. Our guest was born and raised right here in Jacksonville, growing up in a deeply rooted Palestinian family. Her neighborhood was once one of the most concentrated pockets of Ramallah families in the city, and as the saying goes, if you know, you know. Raised through the Ramallah Club, her upbringing laid a strong foundation of faith, family, and tradition. Today, she's an accomplished chef with an exceptional eye for detail. We're excited to welcome Miss Elizabeth Salem to hear our story. Welcome to Hear Our Story, the podcast where first-generation Palestinian voices take center stage. I'm Elias.
And I'm Janice Farhat.
Together, we're sitting down with family, friends, aunts, uncles, and yes, all your cousins too, so we can share the rich, complex stories of growing up between two worlds, the land that gave us life and the one that lives forever in our hearts.
They are not just our stories. They're stories that will feel familiar, maybe even like your own. So grab some coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive into these conversations that are as enlightening as they are entertaining. Hi, Elizabeth. Welcome. We're so glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's great to have you. Let's start at the beginning. Can you share your family history with us, your parents' and grandparents' names, and the story of how your family came to the States? And if you can, your Hamula, please.
So let's talk a little bit about the history of how Adel and Elaine Salem came to Jacksonville, Florida. So my father's side is from Dar Ibrahim, and my grandparents was Yusuf Salem and Badia Salem. So they met in the old country, and they got married. And then my grandfather came to the United States to work in sales and to earn money like a lot of the Ramallah people did back in the day.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he got stuck in the U.S. and because there was a war, so he couldn't get back over. So he was in the U.S. for 10 years working as a traveling salesman. And then he was able to get back to Ramallah, at which time they were there less than a year, and my Uncle Freddie was born. So my father came to this country. He was 10 years old, but English was his first language because he went to an American school in Ramallah. And Freddie was under a year. And they actually came through Ellis Island. And I have been to Ellis Island and seen the signature when they came across.
Oh, amazing.
Taking the picture of it. It was really cool. Apparently they didn't like the cold weather in New York City. So hence they came to Jacksonville like many of the brethren. My mother's side, my grandfather on my mother's side was from Dar Awad, and he was born in Palestine. To the best of our knowledge, he came over about that same time after the war ended. And my grandmother, his name was Tufik Hishmet, and my grandmother, Julia Hishmet, was actually born in Lebanon, and she came to the U.S. when she was 2 years old. So that's basically how everybody got here. I want to tell you a little something funny. So my grandfather, most people always refer to them as Cedo, right? Cedo. But I guess my older sister, I'm going to blame it on her, she couldn't say Cedo, so she called him Dido. So my entire life, our entire family called my grandfather Yusuf Dido.
Dido.
Yeah. So if I refer to him, that's the reference in the history there.
That's amazing.
That's great.
Yeah.
Fun.
And also, I do have a funny story I want to share. A funny and tender-hearted story. So I had gotten home from school one day. I was maybe in 9th or 10th grade, and nobody was home, which is kind of unusual, but, you know, I let myself in. I'm in the kitchen. I'm making a snack, and we had these windows that led to the backyard, and I see this figure, like, in dark clothing in the backyard, like, walk by the windows. And I'm startled because I'm, like, what the heck? Who's at my house? I'm by myself. So I, sneak into the den and peek up into the window to see who it is. And lo and behold, it's my grandfather. And every single day of his life, he wore a suit and a hat. And that's what he was in the backyard. I go out there. I'm like, Dito, what are you doing out here? He's like, I'm picking figs off the fig tree. You have too many. And he's putting them in a Publix bag. Like there was nothing wrong with it. He just walked in the backyard. He's over there picking the figs in the fig tree, Obviously, it was a great memory because we always shared our figs with everybody anyways. But it was just so funny because here I'm thinking this is something startling. But no, he's just in there with his hat and his coat.
So every day he wore a suit and a hat.
His whole entire life until he passed away, God rest his soul, he wore a suit and a hat.
God bless him.
Yep.
Take us back to your early memories growing up, your neighborhood, your parents, your two sisters, and the Ramallah families around you. We've heard those relationships were very close and still are today. What was that like?
Sure. So there's kind of like maybe a 3-prong way to kind of tell you how it was. So the first prong I would say would be our Friday evenings. So our Friday evenings always consisted of the same thing. We would either be at my Uncle Camel and Aunt Maggie's house, at my Dido and Tata's house, or at our house. And we would eat dinner. Now my sisters, mind you, one is 6 years older and one is 9 years older. So most of the time, I was the kid that was hanging around with the parents and stuff because I was the littlest one. What was I going to be doing? So we would have dinner, and then they would bust out the cards. So they were big pinochle players. They played pinochle. And my job was to go get the little bowls of peanuts and bring them to the table and go get them ice for their drinks. And I would just sit there and watch them play because I just thought it was so much fun.
You were like hosting for the night, like taking care of things.
Yeah, I was trying. Most of my mom was, but I thought I was doing something big,
Yes.
So pretty much every Friday night, that was the case. And then on Sundays, our thing was to go to my grandparents' house. We'd go to church, and then every Sunday we'd go there for lunch. And my tata cooked for like 80 people, even though there was, 20 of us, 10 of us. But, we're all healthy eaters, so we didn't complain. And every Sunday we'd eat lunch, right? And then like my uncles, they'd go watch golf or races or football. And we'd go in the dining room with my grandfather and my dad. We'd play cards, and, everybody else, the women were scattered throughout on the porch, whatever. And we'd get the call. Okay, the call. Every Sunday we got the call.
The call.
The call. The call was because my grandfather was the oldest Salem, right? Well, grandfather and grandmother were the head, if you will, of the same.
Matriarchs of the family. Okay.
And my grandmother was an Akel. So,
okay.
The head Akel and the head Salem. So we'd get a call on Sunday saying, so-and-so is coming up. You okay? Is it okay if we come over and visit Auntie Elmo? Okay, so everybody's got their shoes off. We're relaxed. We've got our drinks. It was like DEFCON 30. You got 30 minutes. You put your shoes on. You go get the glass trays out. You fill them up with dried fruit and nuts. And then you go put the coffee pot on. You make sure you have the cups and the napkins. And my job was to get out the napkins or the sweets because I couldn't carry coffee. It was too hot. I was the youngest for a long time.
Of course.
And so it was just, you had 30 minutes to get all that in gear. And then everybody come over and you hang out. And, I really wish like people still did that today. I know they don't. People are busy and what have you. But that was just a tradition. And when that phone rang and I heard your telecast with Teresa, and it was just like that, a long corded phone. Yeah, I remember that phone in the club. Yes. I called my parents for many times on that phone.
Absolutely, yeah.
But we had that same phone, and it would sit next to my teta, and it would ring, and she'd pick it up, and that was it. You knew. You start cleaning up, you start getting stuff ready. Company was coming. Put the coffee pot on, they'd come.
And I'm sure you guys all had it down to a science.
Oh, we did. We were good. Everybody had a job. Mine was always napkins, because I was little. But
it's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. And then, kind of back to the neighborhood, that more families and more families moved in, so lots of cousins and friends. And so there was always someone to, go over their house and bike ride with and hang out with. And we'd always swim in Aunt Maggie and Uncle Camel's pool. And, it was just really great to have that neighbors and friends and family all in one. So it was really cool.
Yeah, what a blessing. Yeah. Yes. Elizabeth, we always like to explore identity. And growing up as an Arab American with such a strong cultural foundation, was it easy or challenging to navigate both identities? And can you share some examples?
I really feel like it was relatively easy. I think most people live blended. They kind of live in between. Traditionally, we were all raised very traditionally as far as values and education. We might have been some times where I pushed the limits to the freedom thing. But, in perspective, I was the youngest. So my sisters already paved that way. And I
thought you had an edge. Yeah.
I might have just had a little edge there, 3 girls. But there weren't any specific instances that come to mind that I want to record anyway.
Understood. All right, Alex, I think it's your cue.
All righty. Let's talk about your early connection to the Ramallah Club. You may have a unique perspective compared to others. Could you share some of your first memories?
Sure. So I basically grew up in the Ramallah Club. One thing is my dad, he was a chief of the planning division for civil engineers, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So he did planning in his early days. and used to like help build bridges and stuff. So when it came time to build this Ramallah Club, he was a big part of that. He helped with the design and he helped with the consultations and all those different things. There's several plaques in my mom and dad's house now that are in appreciation of Salem, just different years of different things that he was able to, help contribute to build the club. And then he was president 1975 and 1977, and my mom was president in 1978. Yeah, so I was very involved in all of those activities growing up, and as well as my sisters were involved too. I tried to make a list of all the things I did at the club, and it was a very long list. So we always did the Super Bowl parties on Super Bowl Sunday. I was at every picnic. I can't tell you how many talent shows I've done over the years. I didn't recognize the song that she mentioned in the last podcast, but I did do a talent show where we did sing something.
So it wasn't Baladi, but another Arabic song?
No, it was an American song.
Oh, it was an American song. Okay.
I think you're going to laugh, but I think it was Go Tellin' on the Mountain.
Okay, so a religious song.
I'm almost certain.
Okay.
That's where I did that. It was here.
Okay.
And then I did a dance one time in a talent show. I did the fashion shows. We did New Year's Eve. I did the Busch Garden trips, youth club, you name it. Like for years, because again, my parents were president. They were very involved. We were little. And so it was basically a great place to kind of meet everyone and know everyone. And even to this day, I think because I was that impressionable age, a lot of the aunties and uncles, sometimes they'll know my name and they're like, hey, and I'm like, hey, which auntie and uncle is this? Because there's so many and they know me, and I'm like, hey, I'm not good at that. But yeah, it was really, really great. Big involvement, big part of my upbringing and learning the culture well.
Yeah, I mean, your dad is a huge part of the structure of this property and of this building. I mean, his contribution, like many, were incredible, and we remember him with great love and fondness. And we love your mom.
Thank you.
She's a sport.
Yes. She's a lot of fun.
So your career journey is incredibly inspiring. We're going to just switch it over a little bit. You built a successful career, yet felt called to pivot, ultimately taking a leap of faith, going back to school, and starting a completely new path. I mean, that is to be admired. That really takes grit, discipline, and courage. Walk us through that transition and what led you to make that decision.
So that's a great question. Some things I always had wanted to do is open my own business, and I worked my entire career in different aspects in the food business. So it was going to land there with the food business somewhere. I decided on doing a bakery because I enjoy baked goods and they're not as messy as breaking down a cow or, doing shrimp and something like that. So I leaned toward that way. It was time in my career for a change. I am not a person, and there's nothing wrong with this, that can do the same thing all the time. I create my own excitement at times. So that was one of those times that I thought, okay, it's a good time for a change. I went to pastry school out of town, and I lived in New York for just almost a year, a little bit short of that. And then I came back and I did a delivery bakery. I did a storefront bakery. I taught pastry classes. And now it's a side business still, but, still part of my life and something that I loved doing and hope to always be able to do it in some aspect.
That's amazing. What was it like going back to schooling? Like you had been out of school, on your own, career, work, etc., but to go back to school in the middle of it all.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. So this was a diploma program. Since I already had a 4-year college degree, so I wanted to the little bit shorter program. But it was a mix of ages and company, and it was in New York, so a mix of international students. And so there was a couple people in my age range in the class, and the rest were very young hoppers. And let me tell you, I had to get up, and when I first lived in Brooklyn, it's an hour and a half train ride to where I needed to be to get dressed in your clothes and to get in there, and you work straight through till, 5 hours class. Then you go and you do the same thing. And so it's a little bit of a wake up call when you're not used to doing something. I've been working, even in the jobs I do now, I'm basically on my own. I, work in sales. So it was a bit of a challenge to kind of keep up with the whippersnappers, but I think we did okay.
Good for you. Right. Good for you.
For someone who's listening and they are considering a major career change, but feels fear, doubt, or outside pressure, what advice would you give them? How do you overcome that and move forward with confidence like you did?
Yeah, I think that you have to remember that your time here on earth is limited, right? And it's a gift. So if something is in your heart and you're feeling it, then you want to do something, you have control of your life. You have to do that. It might be scary. So I always advise, do your research, get plans, and then make the change. But that it can be very rewarding and, no regrets. So
Well said. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. Leap of faith.
Yeah.
Turning to your parents, just wonderful people. I can't say it enough.
Thank you.
What qualifies you, do you feel, what qualities do you feel that you've inherited from your mom, and what traits come from your dad?
Well, my mom is the queen of entertaining and hospitality. So I definitely think I inherited that from her.
That is for sure. Yeah.
Thank you. And also, my mom is very good about doing the right thing. Like, you need to do this. This is the right thing to do. And so I think I've gotten that aspect from her, at least tried to. And my dad, I would say my dad had a very dry sense of humor, just like unexpected. So I definitely think I got that from him. And also he was, he had a big job his whole life, and a lot of people worked for him. So a lot of people were a little intimidated by him because he wasn't a cheerleader, bubbly. And I'm very much like that, but, squishy teddy bear on the inside. And that's how he was. So I think I have some of that in me too.
Very nice.
Now, I know you love to travel. Have you been to Ramallah?
I have not been yet, but it is definitely in my future.
Have you been to a convention?
Oh, yes. Many, many, many.
Any favorite memories or experiences?
I thought about that. And, I don't have one particular one because I have been through, several cross country, but I would say, my very favorite part of any convention is the music and the dancing. Because I've always danced my entire life. And so that's my favorite part. And of course, the hahi. That's my favorite part too.
The traditions.
For sure.
Yeah. Now, as a chef, we have to ask, do you have a favorite dessert that you like to make? And what's your favorite Arabic dish?
I enjoy making cookies. I know that's not a fancy dessert, but I love making all types of cookies because they bring joy to people. It's a small indulgence. You can make them any flavor, and I can make a really lot in a small period of time. Now, the other question, what's my favorite Arabic dish? Yee.
I know.
That's a trick question.
It is.
I love them all. The hashwa, the kibbi, the warak, the sfiha, the minsef, the maklub. I could go on. There's nothing, honestly, I don't think Arabic food that I don't eat.
Yeah. And you don't like.
Oh, I love them all.
I'll love them all. That's easy.
One of the goals of this podcast is to preserve stories, your voice, your experiences for future generations. If your nieces or nephews were to share this episode with their children one day, what message would you want to leave for them?
I would have to say they should strive to embrace God, embrace their family, and embrace tradition. And that,
Beautiful.
if you're doing that, you're in good shape.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, well said. And speaking on that, Elizabeth, what's your favorite tradition as a daughter of Ramallah? Whether it's weddings, holidays, or something else, what's your favorite?
It's hard to pick because I feel like if you're, the weddings are joyful, the holidays are joyful. Sometimes we have to do things that are not joyful. So I think that if you can share the weddings and the holidays with your family, then I think that brings happiness and brings to everybody because it's one thing you enjoy stuff with strangers, but when you're doing the best things in life with your family, that brings the most happiness. So I don't know if I could pick weddings or holidays. I think I like them both.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. We truly appreciate your time and your voice.
Thank you, Alex and Janice, for having me.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you for listening to Hear Our Story, a podcast dedicated to first-generation Palestinian Americans. Special thanks to the Ramallah American Club of Jacksonville and to the production team of Joy Bete Freha, Alex Elias, Janice Farhat, and Chris Varmond. Hear Our Story can be found on all podcast platforms. We look forward to bringing you our next story.